Since childhood, we have been taught that we must be kind, we must care, and we must live for others. And for many years, we believed that this was always the right thing, that the kinder we were, the more we would be loved, appreciated, and treated kindly in return. But as you grow up, you start to realize a hard truth. Kindness is not always reciprocated with kindness. There are times you give so much that you lose yourself. Some people view your kindness as a default, as a duty you must fulfill rather than a choice you want to make. The Stoic once said, "Nothing consumes a person faster than forgetting their own worth." Kindness is not wrong, but kindness without wisdom will exhaust you. Kindness is not about giving unconditionally. It is about knowing how to keep enough so that you don't disappear from your own life. So what really ruins your life? Not kindness, but kindness placed in the wrong spot, given to the wrong people, and exceeding your boundaries. Today we will talk about 7 ways kindness can ruin your life, and more importantly, how to keep your kindness without losing yourself. Number 1. When kindness makes you lose your center. You won't notice yourself losing your boundaries until it becomes a habit that starts with the times you prioritized others over yourself. Not because they deliberately demanded it, but because you once thought, just a little bit more won't hurt. But it is those very little bits more that quietly destroy you. On a busy day, you were trying to finish your own work when someone asks for help. You set your work aside thinking you can help just this once. The next time, they come to you again, then again. And by the time you are exhausted, they still view your carrying their burden as a given, because that's what you taught them from the start. When someone becomes your number 1 priority, you gradually shift your boundaries to accommodate them. You skip meals to finish your tasks. You postpone personal matters so they can have an easier time. You convince yourself that this is kindness. But in reality, this is how you turn yourself into an extension of someone else's life. Stoicism reminds us, whatever you put at the center, that will control your life. And no one, no matter how good they are, deserves that power. You need to ask yourself, am I helping or am I revolving my whole life around someone else's orbit? Because every time you push yourself to the back burner, you are teaching others that their needs are more important than yours. It is not that they cross the boundary, it is that you fail to maintain it. Kindness does not require you to disappear. A no at the right time does not make you a bad person. It brings you back to your rightful place in your own life. Don't put anyone at the center of your life. Boundaries do not make you less kind. Boundaries help you retain your self-worth. Number 2, when you put others first, they treat your sacrifice as normal. A paradox of kindness is that when you always prioritize others, they gradually forget that you also have needs, feelings, and boundaries. Anything repeated long enough becomes the default, and your sacrifice is no exception. In any relationship, what you do too often loses its value, regardless of how much effort it requires. The first time, they are grateful. The next time, they appreciate it. But then, at some point, you are no longer the kind person. You become the person who has to do it. You step back, they step forward. You give up one more part, and they consider it your part all along. The boundaries blur not because they broke them, but because you failed to hold them. And by the time you realize it, you have drifted too far from your own needs and voice. People who live by the Stoic principle understand that others treat you based on the signals you send out. If you can handle it, they think you are not tired. If you don't mind, they believe you are not hurt. If you always stand behind, they believe you have no needs of your own. The most painful thing is not that they don't care. but that they no longer think they need to care. Because your silence has taught them that you are fine with being misunderstood and that you can endure not being prioritized. If you don't return yourself to the position of a human being with feelings, boundaries, and dignity, others will continue to use you as a utility, without guilt, without hesitation, without looking back. Because respect always begins with how you treat yourself. Number 3, overhelping weakens others. One of the quickest ways to weaken a person is to do everything for them. Help elevates them. Taking over causes them to lose the ability to stand firm. People are not weak because life is harsh, but because they face too few obstacles. A mind that is not challenged will become fragile, like a body that has never encountered germs. When you always solve things for them, they stop asking, "What should I do?" and only think, "Let you do it." Inner strength unused will atrophy. Eventually, they no longer believe they can stand firm without you. At that point, you are not the helper. You are the emotional crutch that makes them afraid to walk alone. The Stoic understands, no one grows by avoiding necessary difficulties. Seneca called adversity the soul's exercise, which no one can do for another. When you stand between them and life, you also stand between them and the strength life was supposed to forge in them. You think you are saving them, but you might be stripping away their right to grow. The necessary action is not to abandon them, but to return the correct weight to its owner. When they ask, let them propose their solutions first. When they want you to do it for them, ask them to take the first step. When they panic, remind them. Their emotions won't kill them. Dependency will. You do not make anyone stronger by shielding them from every impact. The thing that weakens people fastest is not adversity, but never having faced it on their own 2 feet. Number 4, kindness without boundaries erases you. When you always put others first, deep down you still hope for reciprocity one day. Even if you tell yourself you are giving unconditionally, a silent hope exists within you that when you are weak, someone will return. That is not selfishness, that is human instinct. But life does not operate according to the principle of symmetry. They get used to receiving and view your sacrifice as the default. You hurt because you hope they will choose you, while you yourself have never chosen yourself. Repeated kindness becomes a dangerous habit. The more you show up, the more they believe you will always be available. The more you take over their burdens, the more they believe it's your responsibility. More dangerously, you are no longer appreciated. You are used. You become a convenient habit, a fallback solution, an unlocked door. And when you stop, they don't ask if you are okay. They only ask why you changed. Live for others long enough, and you will disappear from your own life. The Stoic ends this cycle with boundaries. Before every request, they ask themselves, will this draw me away from the person I want to become? Am I helping because I want to, or because I fear rejection? If the answer makes the heart heavy, they say no, shortly, directly, sufficiently. A boundary is not coldness. A boundary is self-respect. And here is the truth you must engrave. If you do not choose yourself, the world will choose you as a tool. If you do not hold your ground, others will stand upon it. If you do not protect your own life, you will disappear from it first. Kindness with limits is a virtue. Kindness without limits is only the shortest path to self-destruction. Keep your boundaries so that you remain, and so that your kindness remains valuable. Number 5, kindness without discernment attracts the wrong people. One of the darker sides of kindness is when you are too readily available, others will implicitly take you for granted. Unselective kindness is no longer a virtue. it is the wrong door opened for people who do not deserve to enter your life. When you give unconditionally, not everyone sees sincerity. Some people only see an opportunity. For people who are deserving, your kindness is a warming fire. But for the wrong people, your kindness becomes a signal that they can take more without resistance. They are not evil, they are simply used to your leniency. The danger lies here. Your kindness starts to attract dependents, or worse, opportunists. People who do not bring light, but who come to borrow light from you. They come with need, not with respect. Imagine a cup that is constantly being poured into but never feels full. It's not because the cup is leaking, but because the person pouring never stops to see how much is left in the cup. Kindness without discernment is the same. You keep pouring, and they keep taking. Gratitude fades, then disappears. At that point, kindness is no longer a gift, it becomes a default supply. The Stoic reminds us, we cannot control the world, but we must control who we allow into our energy field. Kindness is a virtue, but virtue without wisdom will make you a target for those who only want to exploit your enthusiasm. Deserving people will keep their distance when they see you exhausted by people who are not worth it. The undeserving will only move closer because they know you are the one they can rely on without cost. Kindness does not make you suffer. Giving it to the wrong people is what makes you pay the price. Number 6, excessive kindness creates suspicion. There is a paradox few people dare to look at directly. When you are too good, you are not necessarily appreciated. Sometimes you are even viewed with suspicion. In a world accustomed to transaction and vigilance, unconditional kindness looks more like a trap than a gift. That vigilance is not their fault. It is an instinct formed after the hurts they have either witnessed or experienced. Imagine someone who always smiles, always agrees, and always shows up the moment you need them. Initially, you feel comfortable. But if they continue this way, without a moment of hesitation, without any sign of holding back for themselves, you will start to ask yourself, why are they this good to me? That suspicion arises not because they are bad, but because your kindness loses its authenticity when it has no limits. The Stoics believe that every virtue is only sustainable when there is balance. Even kindness needs weight, needs pauses, needs boundaries. What makes others trust you is not giving without limits, but the fact that you choose to give at the right time, to the right person, and in the right measure. Like light, too weak, it's useless, but too bright, it makes people squint and turn away. Kindness is the same. When you pour all your energy into helping, you unintentionally create an imbalance. You give too much, they receive too much, and the natural equilibrium in a relationship is broken. People do not trust unbalanced things. The Stoic sees this as a reminder. Kindness must not be ostentatious. It needs balance. Too much will make you suspicious. Being too easy will make you misunderstood. Kindness with limits makes others trust you more, not less. Number 7. If kindness destroys your inner peace, it's self-abandonment. There is no exchange more dangerous than choosing to be a good person while neglecting yourself. Kindness is inherently a virtue, but once it erodes your inner peace, it is no longer kindness. It becomes blind self-sacrifice. And the most painful thing is, you don't realize it immediately. You only find yourself increasingly tired, yet still trying to be a little bit better as a reflex. A person's peace is not broken in one big moment, but in the times you nod yes, even though your heart is heavy. In the times you accept responsibilities that are not yours. In the times you smile when you are actually exhausted. People living by the Stoic principle always emphasize, no one has the right to take your peace unless you hand it over. Imagine a string pulled taut. It doesn't break from one strong pull, but from hundreds of times of being overstretched. The human psyche is the same. You don't collapse because of one instance of helping someone. You collapse because of years of living in a state of having to be better than your true feelings. No one demands that level of sacrifice from you. You do it yourself, believing that is what a kind person should do. But that is not kindness. That is how you step out of your own life to live according to the needs of others. Self-abandonment is the quietest form of betrayal because it happens under the guise of benevolence. A heart that is no longer peaceful will give with reluctance, with fear, with depletion, not with affection. And anything that stems from fear, even kindness, destroys you. Kindness does not require you to lose your peace. When you have to sacrifice yourself to appear kind, that is not virtue. That is self-erasure. Finally, the issue is not about whether or not you should be kind. The more important question is, how can kindness be placed correctly and truly be valuable? The Stoic does not deny benevolence. They only remind us that kindness must go hand in hand with wisdom, or else you will lose the very meaning of kindness. And to keep kindness without burnout, they set out 3 practical principles, a foundation that helps you give at the right time to the right person and in the right measure. Principle 1. Acknowledge your own emotions. The Stoic understands that you cannot protect what you do not recognize, and emotions are the first thing you lose when you live too much for others. If, after helping someone, you feel tired, empty, or drained of energy, that is not kindness. That is a warning signal. Stoicism does not ask you to deny your emotions. They see it as an inner radar. You shows you helped the right person. Heaviness shows you are going against yourself. And the real question to confront is not, what do they need? But, am I helping out of love or out of fear of rejection? Because I want to help or because I don't dare to say no? Kindness stemming from fear is no longer a virtue. It is merely surrender wrapped in a facade of kindness. The Stoic starts from this awareness because if you don't understand yourself, you will live according to the emotions of others for your entire life. Principle 2. Set boundaries for kindness. In Stoic philosophy, self-control is not about suppressing emotions, but about the ability to decide what is allowed to enter your life. A no at the right time keeps you more whole than every time you reluctantly say yes. A boundary is not a wall. It is a declaration of your worth. I will not exchange myself to buy anyone's satisfaction. You don't learn to say no to become cold. You say no to protect the only thing that belongs to you, inner freedom. The Stoic asks a sharp question. What is more important, their respect or your own self-respect? Limits do not make you less kind. Limits keep your kindness from being undervalued. Because when you always say yes, you are trading your freedom for the feeling of being accepted. But when you dare to say no, you affirm that I have value, I have limits, and I have the right to uphold my dignity. Principle 3. Identify and leave draining relationships. Not everyone who comes to you genuinely intends to get better. Some people come only to vent their pain, to complain, to find a place to cling to, not to change. They say they need you, that you are the only person who understands them, but if you observe closely, you will see that they only want to repeat their own old cycle. The Stoic understands that you cannot save a person who does not want to be saved. Trying to pull them up will only cause both of you to sink. And sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is not to stay, but to leave, to return the responsibility to where it belongs. Let them confront themselves, because sometimes loneliness is the best lesson that makes people grow. Distance in this case is not indifferent. It is clarity. It gives you space to retain your energy, and it allows them to stand up on their own 2 feet. Stoicism does not teach you to become cold. They teach you to love with wisdom, to give without exhausting yourself, to uplift without carrying their burden, to accompany them without losing yourself. Remember, when your presence weakens others, leaving is a form of helping. Let your kindness be bright enough to light the way for others, but also mindful enough not to incinerate yourself in their flame. Ultimately, the issue is not about whether you should be kind or not. It only wants you to learn how to place it correctly. Because kindness, when accompanied by mindfulness, is a light. But when it lacks boundaries, it becomes the wind that erodes you. The Stoic believes that every virtue needs wisdom to stand firm. Kindness is no exception. Give too much and you will be tired. Yield for too long and you will be lost. And when you can no longer protect your inner peace, you will gradually forget why you even started. When you give with awareness, you do not deplete yourself. When you know when to stop, you are not selfish. You are keeping your heart warm enough to continue giving without breaking. Take this with you after today. Kindness is not losing yourself to keep others. It is keeping yourself and allowing kindness to last. If this video made you pause and reflect, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel to help spread Stoic wisdom, where we learn how to live more tranquilly, strongly, and wisely every day.